Hi, everyone. Welcome to Lima, Peru once again. My name is Vanessa Vasquez. I am your Lima City tour guide. Today, we're going to talk about a topic related with art and history. We're going to give a look to 5,000 years of art evolution in Peru. I will share with you my favorite art pieces. We are going to give a quick look to the evolution of art according to the different stages of, well, the history of Peru. We're going to the pre-Hispanic time, then we're going across the colonial era, viceroyal era, the independence period, the Republica, and also contemporary art, including as well street art. So this is a selection of my favorite pieces. I'm sure that you probably have your own favorite pieces related with, well, Peru, if you've been able to visit this country, if you've seen Peru before. So I would love to know also what are those pieces, Peruvian art pieces, that you are fascinated about, that you like, and even if you can share with me images, that would be lovely. Today's event, today's video basically is about a virtual tour that I do also privately for institutions and for schools. So if you want me to, let's say, like do something about history and art from, let's say, a virtual perspective, just let me know, contact me. I will be delighted to share more of Peru virtually. I am also a tour guide in Lima. I am official licensed tour guide in Lima, Peru. So you can also contact me if you are in the city and you wish to have a private, personalized, customized tour of Lima. So, well, let's begin. Today, we're going to talk about 5,000 years of Peruvian art, the evolution of Peruvian art from ancient times to the present. And this is, of course, the perspective of a Peruvian tour guide. We have lots of art in Lima. And during today's tour, I will tell you, especially where you can see these art pieces that I'm showing you during the event if you visit us. So, but we have to understand, first of all, what art means. So according to Oxford Dictionary, art is the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. So today's say event will be about Peruvian art, but also the evolution of our art related, of course, with the different cultures. There is a very important element related with religion, because art in the old days, and also that is the same in the Western world, in Europe, in Spain in particular, because that's the influence we got from Europe, the Spanish influence. Well, art and religion were hand by hand. So the same happened here in Peru before the conquest. So let's go first to talk about the diversity in Peru. Peru is a diverse country in many different ways. Culturally, of course, ethnically also, languages. We have lots of different languages, over 40 indigenous languages here in the country that are protected. And all of this diversity of religions also in the ancient times, there were many different religions. So all of this diversity is influenced directly by the geography of Peru. So Peru is the 20th biggest country in the world and the third largest country in South America. So of course we have diversity because we are very, very big. But also this diversity, cultural diversity is related with the different influences we had. There are zones in the country that have more influences from, let's say, the Western world. There are zones in the country that have way less. And that is related with the migrations towards this country. So before the conquest of the Spanish, We can talk about an indigenous development. Of course, we have to, for example, bring to the table the Inca society, the Inca, some people call it empire, trying to use parallelisms with the European cultures. Indeed, they were a big, big society, a very powerful society, but they were not the only one. There were so many different cultures. We can even go back to the Lithic period also if we want to search for art history, no? Because we can also see examples of cave paintings, no? So all of this evolution that starts about 12,000 years ago, more or less, and it continues all the way until the arrival of the conquistadors. Well, it's really like a long, long period of time. So we had more time to develop, to have unique elements, unique symbols, and well, unique religions, etc. The arrival of the conquistadors brought the conquest of the Incan Empire, and later on, the creation of the viceroyalties in the Hispanic Americas. In Peru, we had the Viceroyalty of Peru. So, well, this viceroyalty period also introduced lots of Spanish art, Spanish influence, European influence in the country. But there is, of course, an element of symbiosis, of union, of fusion with the local art. Not intentional most of the times, but it happened. No, we had 300 years Spanish control. We were for 300 years a Spanish territory, right? We were not Peruvians, like nowadays we say we are Peruvians. We were Spanish. We belong to the Viceroyalty of Peru, but we were under the control of the kings of Spain, right? So, but then the independence comes. It comes the liberation from the Spanish control, the starting of a new era, the beginning of the Republica. And also this process, this period, made things also interesting because now we were on our own. We could dictate how art would be, but also art responds to the necessities of that time. So we're going to observe which ones were the necessities of the society, what was needed to be reaffirmed after the independence period. So, and well, we go until the modern contemporary era, and we will definitely talk about, well, what's wandering our minds, what Peruvians wanna put in their walls, and we are going to do a little investigation of the street art movement. So, well, we have to go back now to Toquepala, 10,000 years ago. Toquepala is a cave that is located in Tacna, is in the south. This is the last department in the south of Peru, very close to the country of Chile. And there you have a very, very ancient artistic vestige in the walls of that cave of something very interesting, a practice that we still do in Peru. The indigenous communities of Peru continue, let's say, respecting this practice, and they emulate this system, this hunting system, very old hunting system, but now they don't use it to hunt. I'll explain in a moment how they use it. The name of this activity is the chaku. And the chaku consists in, well, a big group of people, no, that holding hands, they trap and encircle cameloids. So, well, 10,000 years ago, we didn't have the domesticated like animals yet. We're talking about hunters and gatherers. But in the Andes of Peru, there was a species of animal. There were two species of animals that were like running wild and free, and were very, very important as this process, this process of, let's say, creation of civilizations. And those animals were the vicuñas and the guanacos. Vicuñas in particular, they are very, very pretty. We still have them in the Andes, and they produce the finest wool in the world and most expensive. Well, the catching of these vicuñas, which are very, very agile, and in the high Andes, no one can be that agile and run fast. Well, they needed to be trapped, but with let's say the help of many, many people, because one person couldn't run that fast. So that's how they were encircled. Here you can see this representation of people with these animals, these cameloids, these American cameloids, and how they are being hunted, how they are being catched. So it's believed that the purpose of these art pieces is magical. It is sort of like a way of manifesting good huntings. So making these art pieces like with lot and abundance of animals catch by these people who once stay in that cave, use it as a shelter for the cold nights. Well, probably they use this as a magical way with a magical purpose. So this is Toquepala 10,000 years ago. And here you see an image of the chacu. And this is what I was trying to explain to you all. Oh, the catching of the vicuñas. Look at how pretty the vicuñas are. They are delicate. They are called the Barbies of the Andes. And their hair is very, very soft, by the way. So nowadays the communities cannot kill vicuñas. That's forbidden completely. You can even go to jail if you do that. But people in the Andes don't want to kill them because, well, they were in the border of extinction. So what they want to do is just catch them, to shave them, and for selling their wool. They catch them every 2 years. So in that way, they allowed more of these vicuñas to reproduce, and also to keep their hair because it's cold at night. So especially in the winter season in the Andes, so they don't want to kill them, of course, right? So we are going to give a quick look to Caral now. Caral is an ancient society that existed in the central coast of Peru. It is predecessor to so many other societies in the world, not just in the Americas. Caral is known as the oldest civilization of the Americas, so we are very proud of that. They was widely investigated in the 80s, 90s, especially by archaeologist Ruth Shaddy, and they were a big surprise for the scientific world because it was believed that, well, societies, especially in the Americas, only were able to emerge after the creation of the ceramic. So ceramics were, for many archaeologists, an indicator of culture. But this is a pre-ceramic society, so they didn't use like ceramics like cooked, baked. They use all the type of organic products, like could be gores, for example, as utilitarian like plates, no? But they use clay, no? So these are figurines made of clay, and you can see in this three little sculptures, they are not so big, the representation of the people of that time, the people of Caral. Something that I find very, very curious, number one, is that the female representation in the center is bigger than the couple that is on the sides. There's a man and a woman also in the sides of this female representation that looks very solemn, that looks very important. Well, archaeologists believe she was probably a leader, could be a shaman, a healer. And well, you can see they are all naked. But there's another thing that I like also a lot is the hairstyle of that time. The way how these people cut their hair in layers. This is a possible recreation of that style, that layer style. And well, there are no braids. And usually when we think of indigenous women, especially Peruvian indigenous women, we think in the braids. Well, Caral women didn't use braids, men didn't use braids. They used these haircuts in layers, and usually, like the hair was not tied. So yeah, this is the way how these people look like. So I love these art pieces, because for moments they look like cartoonists. Like, look at this male representation. There you can see the big earrings here on the left, looking like it seems he's scared of the person next, which is, well, probably the same leader, the same healer, or priestess, that is by his side. Also, there's another piece of art, and sculpture in the wall of clay. And what do you think is this representation? Huh? Well, archaeologists believe this is a frog. And this frog, which is emerging from the wall, is being touched by a lightning. So probably this is related with a call of water or rain. So it must be associated with water, with fresh water. And we jump also in the history more, and we go to the period known as the formative period. Cupisnique culture from the north coast of Peru is one of the most celebrated societies, cultures, or stages of development in the country in this particular period. The art piece you see there, you can see it in person in Larco Museum. This is known as the best archaeological museum in Lima, and if not the best, one of the best archaeological museums in Peru. So it's an unmissable. So, well, what you see there is the representation of a shaman. And this shaman is, well, it is mutating. Well, give a look to the art piece there, the pottery that was discovered in an archaeological site related with a funerary context, sorry. So you can see that there's a section of the vessel that looks very feline, and sort of like this section is taken over the face, right? So we can see fangs, these powerful fangs, also these sharp eyes. Also, this is the representation probably of a puma or a felinic, let's say, spirit. And this spirit is taking over the rest of the face. The rest of the face looks like a human, and is more human features, but with very strange elements associated also with the this whole transformation idea. So you see in the nose section of this more human side that instead of just one nose, two noses, like one little on top of the other one. Also, you can see that the ear is like the shape of an animal, could be a deer, some type of animal. And from the mouth looks a little bit open, and there's something coming out from the mouth. So let me explain what this means. According to the experts, this section of the pottery shows, well, the effects of intaking hallucinogenical drinks or plants that are hallucinogenical. Well, these beverages that still are consumed in some cultures in the country of Peru, especially in the jungle zone, by communities and with the intention of healing, and especially in ceremonies conducted by shamans or healers that know how to prepare these drinks. Once consume these beverages, your body gets into a state of exaltation. You can smell more than what you regularly will be able to smell, like scents that are something you don't know naturally or normally will be able to scent. So probably that's the idea of two noses, right? You have this ear that looks like an animal. And also when you are in this exalted stage, you can listen voices, you can listen to animals. So you're extra sensitive. And well, the element coming out from mouth could be vomit, or could be a type of vomiting that is produced by the intake of these plants, and also this very important part, which is the cleans, intentional cleans, the purge produced also during these sessions of well, these ayahuasca, could be San Pedro or whatever plant is being used, right? Then we go to the Moche culture, and Moche culture is fascinating. They have art pieces that look so real. The Moches were the best sculptures in Peru's history, pre-Hispanic history. There was no other society, not even the Incas, that were able to produce such realistic art pieces. And these are hollow. They are not like, stone carved. They are hollow inside. You can put water, you can put liquids inside these potteries. So you can see all the typical features associated with the people of the Andes: the nose and the thin lips and the almond-shaped eyes. This guy looks very chubby also, very well nourished. But also you can see, well, these noses that are typical, that also you can see mine looks a little bit like this chubby guy. And the almond-shaped eyes, which is an element that also connects us with the Asian, let's say, ethnic groups, no? And there's also an explanation for that. Maybe if you wish, I can do a video about that. So there you have also a other comparison. I wanna give you the chance of comparing how realistic some of these portraits are. So you can also see the same powerful noses, and also the almond-shaped eyes and the lips. So, well, it's basically the genetics haven't been that much changed after the conquest. So, and now we're going to the period of the colonial era, no? The arrival of the conquistadors, the introduction of a new faith, the introduction of a new language, new dressing codes, new. Everything was new and very fast and well incomprehensive for many indigenous people who couldn't really understand all of the mysteries of that religion immediately. It took them many generations, and most of the times we were not able really to understand every single detail. But well, we created syncretism, a union between what was before existing previously and what it was brought from Europe. This virgin, you can see it also in the church that is considered the most important one of Lima, the Cathedral of Lima. It has its own altar next to the main altar of the church. Oh, by the way, all the pieces that you saw about Caral culture, you can see them in the archaeological site Caral. It is located about 3 hours away from Lima. It has its own museum, which is very fair. It's understandable. They want to keep the pieces in the place where they were discovered. So you just need a full day to visit Caral from Lima if you come to the city of Lima. And also, well, the portrait vessels of Moche are as well in Larco Museum, so please don't miss going to that museum. So, well, this virgin, known as the Virgin of the Evangelization, is known as the oldest representation of Virgin Mary that we have in the city of Lima. And probably was made between the years 1551, 1554, for a cathedral that doesn't even exist anymore, because the Cathedral of Lima was changed many, many times, restored, especially because of earthquakes. So, well, we are very lucky to still have a colonial, an early colonial piece of art like that one. It's very famous. Even Pope John Paul II came to Lima in the 80s and visited this image at the cathedral, and he offered a present to the image, which is the rose, the golden rose you see there in her hand. Originally, she was not called or named Virgin of the Evangelization. She was probably the Virgin of Rosary. But well, now we call her like that. So this image of Virgin Mary looks very, very traditional, right? Is the Virgin Mary the way in Western world you're going to see her, like fair skin, very delicate features, baby Jesus also like very, very European, even blonde, I think, or well, golden hair. So this is the type of art pieces that our indigenous people saw at the arrival of the conquistadors. There's nothing that they can say like, I look like that person, he or she looked like me. They were completely alien creatures, no, to their culture, their ethnicity, and they learn. In many indigenous artists learn to reproduce these art pieces like that, because they were just copying masterpieces done in Europe, thanks to lithographies that were coming also back then. But the motifs were also curated and chosen, particularly to help indigenous to understand Virgin Mary and Jesus Christ in a more profound way. Keep in mind that there are many, many elements of the religion that were very strange, like Catholic religion, I mean, not the Christian religion. Like, for example, the idea of, like the birth of Jesus from a virgin woman. Indigenous of the Americas, they didn't praise virginity in that sense. I mean, in the common, for the common ears, virginity was not such a powerful or important element to be taken care of. No, that's why the Spanish mentioned that indigenous women were more liberal, and they took advantage of that, of course, more liberal than the European women. So anyways, they started to learn new codes also of behavior, and well, the church introduced symbols that were more understandable, more easy for people to understand, and also that will make people feel more connected with these images. We have to also remember that that period of the 16th, 17th century is a period Spain was dealing also in Europe with the reform of the church, the Protestantism in Europe. Also the church in Spain in the year 1492 expelled the Jews, reconquest Granada from the hands of Muslims. So they were dealing with different religions there, and they didn't want not one single of those religions to come to the Americas. So they didn't want any type of contamination in this territory that was virgin itself, without any influence from other faiths. So they didn't want competition, right? So that's why they needed to have an aggressive campaign of evangelization, and they used art in this way, no? So people will feel like, oh, more connected, no, this indigenous, with the idea of a virgin that is breastfeeding, for example. So there you see the Virgen de la Leche, or the Virgin of Milk. She's breastfeeding Jesus Christ. Later, these images were not reproduced that often, because Virgin Mary's like sort of like intimate moment between the Virgin and Jesus. But this was a very, very popular image. And another image very important and very popular was the image of Virgin Mary being represented as, well, let's say as this like triangular let's say, like a person, like there later you're going to see what I'm trying to refer. But for many indigenous, this is the common, let's say, consensus. Most of the indigenous, the way how Virgin Mary was presented, this is not, of course, the very typical European representation, although it has lots of symbols in it. This shape confused indigenous and made them believe, well, Virgin Mary was Pachamama or Mother Earth, which usually is related with the mountains on the or the hills. Although there are some specialists and tour guides when you go to museums in Cusco, for example, in Puno, anywhere in the country, where you see this type of images, colonial images, this in display, they say, oh, well, this is because the church wanted indigenous to be confused, no, and worship the Virgin Mary as if she was Pachamama or Mother Earth. This is not necessarily the truth, because the church couldn't change that easily. Symbols, like, it was not like that. They had to represent the Virgin and Jesus in the way, well, the Vatican accepted. There were documents also, there were like laws, there were rules that they couldn't just change. Probably there were some artistic licenses, but not with the intention of changing the appearance of Virgin Mary to look like Pachamama. For example, one alternative explanation of this art piece, which is not in Peru, by the way, I have taken this example because I love this art piece and I think is the best representation of that, like sort of like or the best materialization of the conflict between some people who believe this is Pachamama Virgin Mary, or the ones who say, no, this is not Pachamama, this is the Virgin Mary, but with an interpretation behind, no, that you need to do to understand the art piece. Well, this is in Potosí, this art piece in the Museum of the Casa de la Moneda in Potosí. And the name of this art piece is The Virgin of the Hill. It's an anonymous painter, because most of the times art pieces in the colonial times were anonymous. They were done for churches, so the churches were the ones who took all the honor and the recognition, and not usually the artist. So, well, what the symbol here, what it signifies, this art piece, is Virgin Mary. You can see that the Virgin is emerging from the heel, like the hands are there and her face also, but not the rest of the body. The Virgin is as special and as important and as valuable as a jewel, right? So that hill that you see there, the Cerro Rico, the rich hill of Potosí, is a silver, let's say, mine. It's a silver mine. So what can be more precious than silver, right? So in that time was gold and silver, no? So, well, the Virgin is as valuable as and special as silver, right? So she's emerging from the hill because she's also a jewel, right? So, well, this is the idea. Also notice that in this section, in the lower part of this hill, we see people like art, for example, the king, the pope, and also donors, people who donated the art piece. Here we have another art piece where there is a person who had donated the art, you see there. And well, this was also a way to continue existing in the future, no, to immortalize you, like using your money to paint an art piece, even could be made to be a gift to a religious order, to a convent that you befriend, right? And you will be always remembered, right? So only, of course, the very, very rich people could afford to do something like this, to pay an artist to be immortalized in this way. But we will not see in that time as many portraits of single, like, people or just people. No, they will always be related or associated with a religious image, Jesus Christ, or any other motive, but always religious. And now we can see another theme that is very controversial. This is the Last Supper Peruvian version. And what is controversial about this image, well, is the dish that is in the center of the table. There are many Last Suppers you can see online. But this one was very curious, in my opinion. This is from Cusco, from the Cathedral of Cusco, because you can clearly see there something that is usually interpreted as guinea pig. Okay, so we have to also understand the symbols in the Last Supper. So well, the Last Supper has symbols that are related with Jesus Christ. Of course, the bread represents the flesh, the wine in the cup, in the chalice, represents the blood of Jesus, and the lamb, the sacrificial lamb, is in the center, of course, in the table. That represents also the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, among all the symbols that we will not discuss today. Well, the way how this lamb, if it's a lamb, was represented, right? It's very surprising, no? So immediately someone sees this and that has eaten guinea pig before says, oh no, this is not a lamb, this is a guinea pig. Indeed, it could be, but some specialists believe that, well, our colonial artists were not intentionally trying to represent a guinea pig, because you cannot compare Jesus with a guinea pig. Jesus is the lamb, the sacrificial lamb. So for those that don't believe that this was a lamb and still want to believe this was a guinea pig, which I like that story, but I'm not so like, I don't believe it that much. I do think it's more like an interpretation thing, which is good, but I don't think the church really would like openly use a symbol like this one, because Jesus was a lamb, right? Not a guinea pig. Okay, so let's say like it is a guinea pig and it was intentionally added in the art piece, although there are no documents that say that. There are no documents that say that it was an intentional guinea pig put in the Last Supper. But let me show you this other image here. So this is a image, a painting again of a Last Supper, very medieval, as you can see, is from the 14th century, the 1300s, from Spain, Catalonia. And what do you see there in that plate? Well, I still see a guinea pig, and there were no guinea pigs in Spain. So it is a lamb, but it's a very poorly drawn lamb. It's not really the way how lambs are, no? So it could be just an artistic license, right? So well, anyways, you choose which story you like the most. Of course, I still like the guinea pig story, but well, it's good to know all the different parts, right? And this is another piece that I like very, very, very much, because it's about a very controversial art piece in the colonial times that was discontinued, that it was even sort of like a forbidden, that it was forbidden to be represented, because well, how shocking it was. So indigenous were trying to understand the mysteries of Christianity. It was very hard for them to do that. Well, and one of the biggest mysteries of Christianity, for example, other ones, no, is the idea of virginity, of Virgin Mary, the sin, the natural sin that we are born with, and then, well, the idea of the Trinity, right? So how can you understand that there are three similar persons, but they are different, but they are the same, but they are different? So art again came to the rescue, trying to explain people what was the Trinity. So three that are the same. Oh, just a little parenthesis. There were art pieces that were used for educational purposes, and there were art pieces too that were used for decorative purposes, and there were art pieces that were for worshiping, and so on. So the art pieces that are for education purposes are very complex usually. And you have different levels of education. You have the simple ones for the indigenous, for what they call catequismo, which is just introducing you into the faith. And you have also other art pieces that are for people who are more advanced, maybe priests, for example. Well, this piece is complex. You can see here the three facial, let's say, trinity, right? Trinidad trifacial. Oh, so there you see Father, Son, and Holy Spirit all together in one same face. And also the symbol you see there, like that inverted triangle, says Pater, Filius, Spiritus Sanctis, and they are all one. In the center, it says one, right? So very complex. This art piece, the one in the left, you can see in the Art Museum of Lima. And there is another one that is on the right, no? That is in my right, at least in the screen. That is in Colombia, in the Colonial Museum of Bogota, in the capital of Colombia. And there is no information of any other art pieces of this kind anywhere in the world. So if you can visit those, see them. And if you know of any other, just let me know, please. We have also the marriage of Don Martin Garcia de Loyola and Doña Beatriz Ñusta, who are these characters getting married. Well, basically the couple that is on the left-hand side, right, that Incan princess and that Spanish man that you see there, are, well, these very important noble people. There's this power couple, as you would call it in English, that represented two worlds, the Incan world and the Spanish world, the nobility of Spain uniting. The legalization of these interracial unions by Spain, by the kings of Spain, happened very early in the 17th century, in the early 1600s. So that meant also that their descendants, the descendants of these unions, will have the same status as Spanish noblemen, with no distinction. So that's also something important to understand for later in this event, because, well, we are a mixed country. We have a lot of mixing, but we do have colorism, and that all started in this period. We value more fairer skin color than darker skin color, but we are not reluctant, or we don't reject interracial marriages. They are very, very common. We are all mixed because this mixing process started a long time ago. In some countries, this is something that just started like few decades ago, less than 100 years ago. You see Europe is just starting to receive big influx of immigrants with different cultures, with different languages, with different traditions. Well, we saw that long time ago, over 400 years ago, right? So we are in a different stage. That's why we are more open and less divisive in that sense, right? But someone has to rule, someone has to be on top. And usually fair-skinned people, they are considered to be, let's say, like a dominant group, okay? So there you have here another period. We're jumping to the independence, Republica, and a lot of things change in this time because we had different necessities. We had different needs. We're not the same people, right? We were not just controlled by remote control from Spain, and we were just worshiping the faith the way Europe imposed us to worship. The art was not controlled in that way. Now we had our decision making power, right? Gil de Castro is one of the most important artists of that period, that initial period after the declaration of the independence, a time when we were forming new historic characters, new heroes. So, well, he was part of that. And his style is what nowadays is called naive style. It is not academic 100%, although you can see that he has a very, very good polish style to paint the backgrounds, but it's a little bit flat, as you can see, not so three-dimensional. So this is one of his greatest paintings, the representation of Jose Olaya, a fisherman who was a hero, a Peruvian hero who, although he was illiterate and very, very poor, he transported letters between, well, the groups that were fighting and they were plotting to fight for the independence, right? In a time when the Spanish were controlling. So, well, that also put him in big risk many times. And the last time he was trapped and he was killed close to the main square of Lima. So these paintings from Gil de Castro, most of them are part of different national collections. You can see them in the Art Museum of Lima. Also, there was a collection of Gil de Castro in the Museum of Archaeology, Anthropology, and History of Peru, which I think is closed still in this moment. But well, you can also give a look to all his work online. This is another painting very famous of him, Simon Bolivar, the Venezuelan liberator of the part of the Americas, of South America. And him and many other great men were painted by Gil de Castro. And also a curiosity, Gil de Castro was a mulatto. He was not white. Oh, he was Afro descent, right? So talking about Afro descendancy, talking about the skin colors in the independence, post-independence period, we had still, of course, some segregation in the society. No, we were of course more accepting of the interracial marriages. We even had names, particular names for each one of the different mixes of blood in that time. At some point was impossible to be kept because we are very mixed, that you would not have enough names for each one of these groups. But predominance were, for example, the white, the criollos, which were the children of the Spanish born in the Americas. You had the mestizos, the mixed blood indigenous and Spanish. You had the mulatto, which were the children of the black and the Africans. We had the Sambo, which were the children of the black and the indigenous, and we had the indigenous and we had the black, right? So the beauty standards of that time were, of course, very European. You can see here these beautiful girls, very, very fair, like so white. So you can see my skin color, definitely not I would not be the taste of the people, the rich, the refined people of that time, because I would be like way too dark. So the fairness of these girls was kept with different types of creams and lots of protection and hats, and even if they went to the beach, they were covered from head to toe, right? So that was the beauty standard of that time. But also there is a new necessity of sort of like talking about themes like being the same, no, like equality and the idea of being all equal, no, before the law, no, like this is the case. And even the name of the painting is The Three Races by Francisco Lasso, or also known as the Egalite in front of the law, no? Being equal in front of the law, from the year 1859. Well, talking about the portrait production, Carlos Bacaflor is one of the most recognized Peruvian artists. We're now talking more about the late 19th century, beginnings of the 20th century. Look what he was able to produce. Also, Bacaflor is the person that you see in the smaller image. He studied in Europe. His education, his art, specialized art education, you can see, wow, like this art piece, this old man, that's the name also of the painting, is just a random man who he was able to pay for posing for him. Look at the solemnity of that face, now the wrinkles, the hairs, so realistic. He was so good, and noted immediately that well, he made paintings of the most important men of that time. in Europe and even in the United States. He traveled to the United States and he painted, for example, the portrait of John Pierpont Morgan or J.P. Morgan, right? Banker, I know, and a very important financier of the United States in the late 19th and early 20th century. So this portrait of him, made by Carlos Bacaflor, is in the Met Museum. And we have also this intention now, besides, well, the fact that now people are being portrayed, heroes are being portrayed, and also rich people now are being portrayed. Now, you don't need to put behind a Virgin Mary or a Jesus Christ or any religious motive. You can be there, no? Like you can be portrayed. And this idea of like the search for like an understanding, no, of who we are, no, the bringing up like social topics like different races, but also we need to build up a self-esteem. We need to build, no, like the history, a new written history, right? Not anymore the Spanish interpretation, that now Peruvian interpretation. So we are bringing now to the art stories like, for example, the killing of Atahualpa, the funerals of Atahualpa, the last Inca king. There is also this intention of going back to the roots and understanding our indigenous art and history. But well, it is not really portrayed the way it was. No, these are like also fusioned ideas with the ones of Europe, with even the old Rome, for example, or Greece. But well, people were trying, so that's good. There you see Inca Atahualpa, his death, represented with solemnity. You see, this scene of women that are pulling their hairs and crying, the wives of the Inca. And there you see also next to the Inca, you see Francisco Pizarro, no, the conquistador, looking to the right, to the left-hand side, looking to the future. No, the handling of the lights and the shades also is fantastic. This painting was done, commissioned by the government of Peru to Luis Montero in the year 1867 for an exposition in Paris. No, that was the time of the expositions, the expos. So it traveled to different parts of the world and now is in Lima, in the Art Museum of Lima. So you have many, many good reasons to go to the Art Museum of Lima now. Well, now we go to the last part of the tour of sites and art pieces in Peru. Well, and this is a piece from Fernando de Cislo. Fernando de Cislo is a Polish descent that, well, produced art pieces that were spectacular. He passed away some years ago, but his art still lives among us in big format in some cases, like, for example, this piece over here, which is located in Miraflores on the cliff, very close to the Love Park. So if you want to see it, just look for the Love Park, the bridge that connects like one side of the Malecon to the Love Park. The art piece that you're seeing here is across the bridge, so before the Love Park. Also, there's a Love Park on one side of the bridge and this art piece on the other side of the bridge. So, well, the name of this art piece is Intihuatana. And if you find that name familiar, it's because there is another site in Peru, in a very important archaeological site named Intihuatana. So let me show you which one is that one. And here on the left, you can see it. Intihuatana is known as the solar or sundial of Machu Picchu, right? So this is his interpretation of the sundial. There in the right image, you can see the sun coming across that hole in which is part of the sculpture in some moments in the year, right? So, well, there you have this Intihuatana made by Fernando de Cislo, and he said in his explanation in the inauguration of this art piece that he was trying to sort of like tie the sun to Lima with this in Tihuatana because Lima usually doesn't have sun. we don't see the sun for about 6 months at least every year. We are in a location that is very special. So well, that was his effort to tie the sun to Lima. Another monster of the art, Peruvian art, contemporary art, is Victor Delfin. And Victor Delfin, Fernando de Cislo, and many other were part of an artistic current called the indigenismo, pro-indigenous, pro the search of the indigenous values, but also adapting those indigenous values to the contemporary world. This park and this art piece, they are located in Miraflores again. So this is the Park of Love. I mentioned already the park of Intihuatana. So very close is this park over here. And this park was inaugurated in 1993 with this piece as the central sculpture. The name of this piece is El Beso, the Kiss, made by Victor Delfin. He is also still with us. He lives in Barranco. He has nearly 100 years and he still produces art, right? So in his art, Victor Delfin always represents indigenous pieces. He's like a Peruvian botero, right? Botero is from Colombia. He represented these fat characters. Well, Victor Delfin produces people with like strong indigenous features, no? In this case, he represented himself and his wife in this eternal kiss, right? How romantic. But now we go to the more, like hip, trendy art, street art. Everybody loves street art. I have a tour specialized in street art, virtual and also in person. So let me know if you want to have those tours with me. Well, this art piece is named Todas las Sangres, All the Bloods, and was created as a collaboration between Joan Jimenez and Edwin Higuchi, named Entes and Pésimo online. So they are trying to represent the different ethnicities, the different influences Peruvians and especially Limanians have. We are in a city that is, first of all, the capital of Peru. It has 1/3 of the total population of the whole country, and we're right next to the ocean. It's like combining in, for example, the United States, Washington, which is the capital, and New York City. So imagine the effervescency of a city like such. Well, Lima is like that. So we have a lot of different immigrations. We had immigrations. We have descents of these mass immigrations. We can name, for example, of course, during the colonial periods, the Spanish, the African forced immigration to Peru. And later we had the Italian, we had the French, we had the English, we had the German. We had also, very important to be mentioned, the Chinese and the Japanese. So we are really the product of that fusion, right? So you can see also the artists, which I found this picture over here. They are also part of what they are still called minorities, because we don't take account on how many are Afro descents or how many are Asian descents in Peru. Most of us, we consider ourselves mestizos, mix, right? But well, we have the Afro-Peruvian community and the Japanese Peruvian community, and they are both part of those communities. Here, for example, Edwin Higuchi, Pésimo, standing next to an art piece that is located in Miraflores. Miraflores, it's also part of my art walking tour in Miraflores. And he also brings into these art pieces his Japanese background. He is what we call a Nikkei, so descendant of Japanese immigrants. And girls, we need to talk about female art. One of my favorite street artists is Blue Steph, and she is always inspired in, European art. This is her interpretation of El Beso, or the Kiss of Gustav Klimt, which you can see also the original here on the left, and the other one painted on a pillar of train, a suspended train of Lima, right? So, but there's something very curious now. You can see that they don't have this couple that is kissing passionately, don't have these colorful clothes. Instead, they have something that look like blankets. And yes, they are blankets. Let me show you which blankets are. So what also these blankets mean? These are the famous for Peruvians, probably not for you outside the country, famous tiger blankets, tigre, and they are very, very thick. You're going to see them even in hotels in the Andes, when there's cold in I don't know, in nighttime in the Andes. Doesn't matter if it's winter or summer, it is always cold in nighttime. So these are the blankets our grannies have. And they always have these tiger marks, right? So, well, they are a symbol of something very, very, very Peruvian. And that's why you see the artist has chosen these blankets as part of her interpretation of the kiss, right? And there's another one here, also by Blue Steph. Well, this one here, done also during the pandemic, is an interpretation of the Starry Night and the screen with a, let's say, a daily scene, which is people riding a combi. So what is the combi? Well, the combi is this. This is the combi. The combi is a transportation system, very uncomfortable, but very fast, that we use in Lima. It's alternative to the buses, right? So don't go on one, please. At least not in Lima, it's very dangerous. So, well, and we're coming to the end of this event. I know it took a little longer than I expected. It always happens like that. But I hope you enjoy it. You found these art pieces interesting. Well, let me know what you think about this event, where you want me to take you next time. Well, I also, this is well, the first video of, well, the month dedicated to the independence. So if you want to see what I'm doing, where I'm going in Lima, well, you have different forms. For example, you can see previous videos and maybe other videos I will be uploading, shorter, of course, in my YouTube channel, Adventurous Travel Guide. This is how it looks also. Please come, be my guest. These videos are open to everybody. Also, you can visit my Instagram, you can visit my Facebook for stories, for, like recommendations on where to go, which restaurants are nice and good in Lima, and more. And also you can send me messages. I have used lots of videographic and web graphic resources for this event, although in Spanish. So if you want to practice your Spanish, well, you have lots of recommended sites. So I will be putting them in the description of this video. So don't worry, you don't need to take notes on this. They will be in the description of this video. And my next event is going to be on July 28th, celebrating the independence. That's the Independence Day in Peru. It's going to be about, well, the investigation I've done about our relation as a nation with the history of Spain before the conquest. Spain is such a mixed country, such a melting pot, right? So they had coexistence also. Jews, Muslims, Catholics, or Christians in medieval Spain were coexisting there. So we're going to try to explain why we are the way we are, also through doing a little research in the history of Spain in the medieval times, okay? Okay, so once again, thank you so much for coming on this, let's say, time trip in the evolution of Peruvian art, and see you soon. Best to you all. Have a lovely rest of the day. Bye-bye. Ciao.